What it do, Dream Team? It's your boy D Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with Russia under pressure as thousands of military-age men have been leaving the country. They don't want to be drafted. They don't want to be drafted into this war where they could possibly lose their lives when a lot of them probably don't even believe in the reason for the war. They don't even believe in the reason for the war, so why should they put their life on the line and sacrifice their life in a war that they don't believe in? I'm not surprised if they started drafting here again. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm not going to war. That's why I always give big gratitude, big thanks, big shout out to all of those who serve, who have served, and who have family members who serve. Because like making that sacrifice, that is true heroism. But we're going to jump into it, my bad. Before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. Social media, Patreon, all up top. You don't subscribe to any of it, put all the links in the description. All you got to do is hit the link, follow me, talk to me. I'm human. I talk back. If you got a favorite video suggestion, subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. Where we go?
Now, Europe's border agency Frontex says nearly 66,000 Russians have flooded into the EU over the last week as men leave to avoid being called up to fight in Ukraine. Latvia has declared a state of emergency as its frontier comes under pressure, and Kazakhstan and Georgia are reporting tens of thousands of arrivals. DW correspondent Maria Katsamadze reports now from a checkpoint on the border between Georgia and Russia.
Thanks to the Georgians for opening the border. It made it much easier for us.
Alone with friends, children or family, on foot or by bike, with or without pets. Many of these people crossing the border from Russia into Georgia are doing so to avoid being sent to war. DW's Maria Katamadze went to meet some of them.
Since the start of the mobilization in Russia, this checkpoint in neighboring Georgia has been working in an emergency mode. Thousands of Russians have already entered the country, trying to escape the war in Ukraine. Russian men, along with their families, spend days and nights in queues stretching for kilometers, most of the time without food and water, the price that they are willing to pay just to avoid going to the battlefield.
Oh my Lord.
Ilya spent 3 days on the road. Moscow to Tuapse, Vladikavkaz. First by train, then by bicycle. This is how he crossed the border into Georgia.
I cannot support what is happening in Russia now. I am against Putin's policies. I am against this war. I think it makes absolutely no sense. I was actually supposed to go to Japan for a permanent residency in 6 months, but I decided that if everything closes down, there won't be any Japan.
Wow.
Nikita's originally from Moscow.
It's crazy. It's crazy because I said in another video, I don't really like pay attention to news. I don't pay attention to stuff like this, and you don't see how serious it is. Like if you're not paying attention, or if you're not watching this type of stuff, you don't have an understanding of how serious it is. It just kind of slips towards the back of your mind, and to watch these videos and to see all these men, all these families in Russia, tens of thousands of families leaving out of Russia because these men don't want to be drafted into a war that they do not support, that they do not believe in. Like, Russia's losing so many people. That's crazy. That has to make you just kind of sit back and reflect on the war and be like, what are we doing? Why? This is crazy. Keep it going, my bad.
There won't be any Japan.
They're willing to go days without food, like to get out of there.
Decided that if everything closes down, there won't be any Japan.
Nikita's originally from Moscow. He worked for an energy company which closed down because of the war. He'd like to return to Russia someday when Moscow changes its political course.
There is a huge influx of cars, a huge influx of people, but I understand the customs officers have figured out how to deal with this situation and have started to organize traffic. And what is interesting is people are also organizing themselves.
George is on his way from Krasnodar to visit relatives in Georgia. He tells DW the border guards don't let everyone through.
He took my passport and checked to see if I was being drafted. That was it. Those who are being mobilized, they just turn them around, just like that. There have been cases like this.
The Georgian Interior Ministry...
Dang, if you are being drafted, they have to turn you around at the border. Bro, this is crazy. This is wild.
Found just like that. There have been cases like this.
The Georgian Interior Ministry has already announced it does not intend to close the border with Russia. The Russian Federal Security Service has already deployed military personnel and an armoured personnel carrier to the frontier to stop Russians fleeing their mobilization orders.
Wow.
Let's join Igor Kuroptev, who's director of the Free Russia Foundation in South Caucasus. He joins us from the Georgian capital, Tbilisi. Full disclosure, Mr. Kuroptev also has a commercial relationship with Deutsche Welle. He was at the border between Russia and Georgia last night. Welcome to DW. What did you see there?
Good evening. Yeah, of course, my organization Foundation, first of all, we assist Russian political exile, but now we're closely monitoring what's going on the border because it affects security of Georgia and situation in Russia as well. When I was on the border, I saw lots of people coming at thousands, and people use bicycles, they use any means to cross the border. Yesterday, Georgian government border police allowed people to cross the border by foot, so many people just leave their cars far away and go by foot to cross the border and to leave Russia as soon as possible, not to go and die or kill someone in Ukraine.
Look at all of these cars. They're just leaving their cars and they're just going by foot. They're like, we just got to cross that border. We got to get across. We cannot be here.
It's possible not to go and die or kill someone in Ukraine. So the situation there is very tense. Yeah.
I was just going to ask about what they were telling you about why they were leaving.
I would say that mostly, there are various groups, but mostly people are leaving because they actually never supported this war, and now there is a time to leave the country as soon as possible. They don't want to ever become a part of this criminal acts in Ukraine, the war. Some people, of course, they were silent, but just they don't want to die. And some people who even supported the war, but now after this Putin step to announce mobilization, not to go because they also just don't want to go and die there without any preparation. But mostly, again, majority is the people who oppose the war all the time from the very beginning.
And so we have Georgia, obviously sharing a border with Russia, with its much bigger neighbour. This must have put the Georgian authorities under quite a lot of pressure, not just from the physical number of people coming into its country, but also political pressure from Russia.
I would like to remind that 20% of Georgia is occupied by Russian Federation since 2008.
wow.
So occupation and illegal Russian military base on Georgian territory, the first threat. Yes, of course, this number of people coming, fleeing to Georgia, going to Georgia is a threat, and government and special services are monitoring the situation. At the moment, there are no indications of some danger issues, but of course, such a big amount of people in the country of 3.6 million people, it's a lot. And of course, it increases Russian influence in Georgia. So Georgian society is now demanding to close the border.
Right. Thank you for joining us.
They're demanding to close it. Gosh. And you understand why, but it's sad if that does happen, because you got all these people who don't support this war, don't believe in this war, and just want to get out before they're drafted, before they have to go and die for something that they don't believe in. It's just a sucky situation. It's all of these different factors in these situations, man. It's just these people don't want to die. These people want to live, and they especially don't want to die for something they don't support. This is crazy, man.
Society is now demanding to close the border.
Right. Thank you for joining us. Igor Kuroptev from the Free Russia Foundation in South Caucasus.
Earlier, I talked to Corneli Kakachia. He's director of the Georgian Institute of Politics in the country's capital, Tbilisi. I asked him if he sees a noticeable surge in Russian arrivals.
Yes, I think this is already visible because we don't have exactly the figures because almost every day we have more influx of Russian citizens. But before that, for instance, weeks ago, there was some sort of estimation that we have already 150,000 Russian citizens in Georgia. And that's a huge number if you consider that Georgia is a small country, it just has a population 3.5 million. And also, because we have a visa-free regime with Russia, basically state authorities not really able to control who is actually entering to Georgia from the Russian-Georgia border.
Given Georgia's own difficulties fending off Russian military encroachment, how do people there feel about the influx of Russians seeking safe harbor in Georgia?
Yeah, if we talk about the people, of course, there are some people who actually see it maybe positive way, but there are some people, and more now, the people who see this with a lot of concern, which is a little bit different than the government position. With Georgian government basically doesn't see any problem with this influx. They see it as an opportunity because they, according to them, these Russian citizens, they bring some investments here. There was already like a dozen of Russian companies registered here. But the problem is that what Georgian government is missing here is that they see just short-term gains, but they don't see the, for instance, risks which may emanate in long term or in medium term. And I think the Georgian citizens here are very, concerned, especially there's a different angle of this issue. There's a security issue because we know that some of these citizens, especially the new ones, which just arriving now in Tbilisi, most of them, they actually had a military service already. That's why they're escaping, right? So, but we don't know what is their, aims in this country and what will be their reaction to the future plans of Russia. So I think there's a little bit ambiguity and people are more concerned because people really want to have some sort of strategic vision from the government before it becomes a problem, because so far we didn't have any major incident between Georgians and Russians, but I think people are a little bit concerned about this issue.
I can imagine they would be. So wow, yeah. So Putin's drafting. They're drafting over there in Russia. They're drafting for this war. Yeah, that's crazy. That's just crazy. I don't know what else I could say. That's crazy. That's all we got for this video. You guys got a video you want to see me react to, drop it in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel. Ring notification bell. Get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. Social media, Patreon, all up top. You want to subscribe to any of it, put all the links in the description. All you got to do is hit the link, follow me, talk to me. Love talking to you guys. You guys are the most incredible team on YouTube. It's your boy Neal. Out.